Hi, this is Jenny from Bending Road. I am so glad you could join me today as we make our journey of life together. No matter where you go in life, two things are for certain. One, you will eventually come to a bend in your road. And two, God will always see you through. Welcome back to my channel. I am so glad you're here. I want to share a story with you today that might seem a bit sad, but it's become an important part of my life journey, and it represents a couple bends in my road. As a child, I felt an intense desire for an older brother. I can't even explain that now. And before I was old enough to understand just how impossible that could be, I would tell my mom, and she would let me know that that just wasn't going to happen. That just was not possible. As I got older, it kind of became a little joke between my mom and I, as the desire never went away. It was a really powerful presence in my spirit. When I was in my 20s, expecting my first child, I asked my mother if there was a family history which I should be aware of, medical history. And she told me a shocking story. She told me that her first child was born in 1960 and lived only a few hours. His lungs had not developed and he died. I remember the impact of this news, and it was startling. I had an older brother, and I had been mourning his death for years. Over the next few years, I was starting my own family. I was going to school. I was kind of struggling with other bends in my road and life as it came at me. And the reality of my brother was always in the back of my mind, but I just didn't give it much time or thought. What I knew is that I still seemed to miss his presence. And I often wondered how life would be different if he were here. On July 27th, 2017, I was in a creative writing session at Ontario Grace CFO, and I'll put a link to CFO in my comments so that you can see what that's about. The facilitator of this creative writing had us writing about our first experience with death. I truly thought that was a bizarre topic, but I was determined to embrace the experience. The biggest problem with writing on this topic was that it was my father's birthday, and he had died 5 years prior. It was on this day that Happy Birthday Daddy, and I'll put a link to that book also, was born. But that was not all that happened in that session. In my writing that day, I realized that my first experience of death was the loss of my brother. I became acutely aware that I did not know anything about him. I didn't know his name. I didn't know his birth date. I didn't know where he was buried. And I was determined to find him. Later on, I called my mother and I asked if it would be okay to ask her some questions about this. Of course it was okay, and I found out what I could. Clifford Allen Pettibon was born and died on May 25th, 1960. He was born and buried in Brookville, Pennsylvania. I have been to Brookville a couple of times since, and I have found the cemetery and possible location of his burial, but there doesn't seem to be any records or markers. But I haven't given up. I will continue to search. What I didn't think about until sometime later was that my husband David and I were married on May 25th, 2002. David loves my family and is loved by my family. My father and he shared the same profession, some of the same hobbies, and some personality traits. Somehow, 42 years later, there feels like a little redemption of that day, May 25th. nobody ever takes the place of someone else, ever. But I do believe that God has sent a message, if only to me, that everything is going to be okay. It is in memory of Clifford Allen Pettibon that my book, Happy Birthday, Sweetheart, is dedicated, along with the organization of Compassionate Friends. We all experience death in different ways. We react to loss in different ways maybe it surprises us sometimes, or maybe it makes us feel a bit uneasy. I want to encourage you today to feel your feelings. You might see a movie about death and feel deeply for the person. That's okay. You might experience the death of a loved one and not respond emotionally at all. That's okay for now. It is also possible that you could be hit with absolutely no warning and cry for one you haven't thought much about in some time. Again, it's okay. Don't try to force your feelings to change. Don't try to stifle them or ignore them. Feel what you feel. Of course, I always encourage journaling. Write about what you experience and about what you feel. Write about how your body, mind, and spirit respond to loss or grief. Ask the Holy Spirit to show you what you need to know. And always take that time to thank God for the life of the one who is no longer with you. Thank God for that part of the person which makes us who we are today. I'm glad you joined me today. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week. If you're watching on YouTube, and if you've been encouraged by this message, I would love it if you would hit that thumbs up button. You can also click the subscribe button and the bell notification so that you'll know when I upload my next video. In this way, we work together to encourage each other as we travel life together and navigate the bends in our road. If you've not done so already, I would love it if you would connect with me on Facebook and let me know how I can pray for you as you navigate the bend in your road. You can also leave a comment in the comments section of this video so that we can pray with one another together and hold each other up. I hope you have been encouraged today, and I pray that when you see that next bend in your road coming, that you won't be afraid, but you will take the hand of God and keep walking. You are not alone.